Okay, so it's been a minute since I put up a video regarding actual politics, and I figured I'd bring us back into it with the topic of an extremely lovable and, in my opinion, dangerous person, Bernie Sanders. And I'll tell you why he's lovable first. I think Bernie Sanders is an amazing, wonderful, honest, sincere human being. I think he genuinely cares about all of America, and I think he has a good head on his shoulders. But I think that he is not a complete student of history, because the policies that he wants to put in place, I don't agree with. I think if you really look at economics beyond just the emotional appeal of a governmentally run society, which the democratic socialists will say that's not their ultimate goal. They just want some things regulated. But the democratic in the front of it is kind of just to make it sound better. Ultimately, when you actually read what they want to say, however well-meaning they are, they're not crazy evil communists. They're not demons or anything or monsters. They're just well-meaning, but I believe incorrect people. And in most cases, they're not even stupid, because on the surface, I think socialism makes sense. But here's my problem, is I've told people before that I think the ultimate and perfect form of government would be an absolute dictatorship, as long as the ultimate power was vested in a perfect person. If you have, say, a king who's an amazing king, honest and virtuous and cares about his people and wise, and there have been kings like that. There have been kings and emperors and dictators even that were very wise, and their people flourished under them, and their rights were protected, and they cared about their people. But here's the problem, is the next one in the line, that emperor's son might be a shit, might be a tyrant, might be a complete asshole. I mean, so ultimately, I'd be fully supportive of Bernie Sanders being president. What I'm worried about, and what I think a lot of people are worried about, is not Bernie Sanders himself, but that we're going to vest powers in Bernie Sanders that we can't trust anybody else with. If Bernie Sanders was running things, and if he was running healthcare, I think he would try to do a good job. I think any power that you gave to Bernie Sanders himself, he would use in a wise and a freedom-respecting manner. It's kind of fuzzy in the whole taxes area, because I'm more of I guess I'd be a libertarian in that regard. But ultimately, I think vesting power in someone as honest and sincere as Bernie Sanders is not that terrible. But here's the problem, is 8 years from then, if he gets elected, or 4 years from then, or whatever, those powers will go from being vested in Bernie Sanders to vested in whoever his replacement is. And even though the virtues and morals and ethics of Bernie Sanders will disappear, and we'll move on from those, we won't move on from the powers that were vested in those morals, from the powers that we trusted those ethics with. So I'm not worried about Bernie Sanders. I'm worried about whoever comes next. I'm worried about giving more power to people who will eventually completely abuse it, and they already have. There's a reason that our economy is crap. There's a reason that the rich keep paying money to politicians. Do you really think that any Democrat gives a damn about you when Goldman Sachs and whoever the hell else who has a shit ton of money is paying them hundreds of thousands of dollars for their campaigns, for even for Republicans? Somebody bought Marco Rubio's house for a ridiculous amount of money, way more than it was actually worth, or at least so I'm told. I haven't fact-checked that, so don't hate me if it's wrong. But it's not really, does it sound at all implausible? None of these people, I would say, except Bernie Sanders, and possibly Ron Paul and Rand Paul. I have a fair level of respect for them. They don't care about you. Or even if they do, they're so bought off and paid for that they're not even themselves anymore. They just follow the money, and they have to. They have to continue to get elected. Power, it's not about choosing what powers we want to give the honest people, to give the right leadership. It's about protecting ourselves from when the inevitable bad, evil, corrupt leadership gets into power, which they already are. Let's be honest. All of Bernie Sanders' proposals, they're not going to be run by him. He's the president. He has more important things to do. Diplomacy. Are we going to declare war on somebody? Drone strikes, that kind of stuff. So his tax policies, whatever policies he pushes for and whatever policies he's promoting, aren't going to be run by him. They're going to be run by others who, pretty much the rest of the government bureaucracy has proven that they're either incompetent or corrupt, or in some cases both. But generally when they're corrupt and incompetent, that's when they get caught. But the rest of it we don't know about because they're either stupid or they're bought. So that's what I'm concerned about. Bernie Sanders, great. Whoever comes after Bernie Sanders, I'm very concerned about. So yeah, that's it. And that's why I don't want anybody to take my guns. So, yeah. Semper, kill. Y'all have a great night.